Hello, I am Dr. Lisa Kennel, the principal at Concord High School, and I'm here presenting with you today with my principal friends in the Principal Whip Around to give you immediate ideas that you can implement to support your school culture. Now, unfortunately, you're not able to be with us in person today. However, we have this glorious presentation that we're sharing with you in order to engage you in these fundamentals to support your school culture. So I'm going to go through the list and I'm going to give you tidbits in which to support your building as you look to move forward with school culture and climate. So, first and foremost, my first category is look and listen. And the first bullet point is go beyond your walls. So, when you talk about school and when you're meeting with your staff, it's really, really important that you get to know your staff members outside of school. So you want to know, and this is something that I ask of myself all the time, is to make sure that I know at least one thing about each staff member's life outside of school, so that when you have those quick interactions, whether they're coming in for an evaluation meeting, whether they're passing in the hallway, you can say, how is your new baby Georgia? For example, that was a baby that was just born in our building. Or I met with someone today, where are you traveling over fall break? I really know that you appreciate going to Florida, you appreciate doing nature activities. So making sure that you have talking points that you can support your staff outside of school, so that, again, so that we have that connection that goes beyond just school. And on the same token, it's really important that you have their cell phone numbers, you have their contact information, so that you can reach out to them and send them messages when big life occurrences are happening outside of school. Maybe they're getting ready to have a baby, maybe they're having surgery, maybe that there's a family member that's been in the hospital that you're checking on. But making sure you're going beyond these four walls, because we certainly can get wrapped up in what's happening around us in school, but we also want to make sure to connect with everybody's life outside of school. So that was number one. Number two is placing value in being human. So one of the things that I like to highlight whenever we're having conversations is ways in which we can connect to the humanality within our profession. Again, we focus so much on what is happening within the school, but how can we equate that to being human? So one of the ways I like to do that is approachability. And so, when somebody brings me something, I like to take it a step further and say, okay, let's apply this to the real world. Let's apply this to life outside of school. And how can we relate it to just the fact that we're human beings and that we want to make sure that we're looking to be better, but at the same time that we're staying within that scope of being human. So just placing value on the fact that we're not little robots. I can do a little robot thing. Not little robots walking around school, but there's a human element to all of us because we're in this together. So having that approachability and making sure that we're connecting on that human level. And then also is equalize, number three, equalize the playing field. And how do you do that? And when you think through interactions, you want to make as many of your interactions as possible be in person rather than electronically. And one tip that I really feel like, well, I hope it's proved to be, sometimes it can be controversial, but beneficial at the same time, is when dealing, it's very easy to send a negative email or a negative voicemail. And then instead of shooting off, something in response, equalize the playing field, arrive at that person's door, or say, when can I pop in and have a conversation? Not only does that bring in that human aspect that I talked about before, but it also equalizes the playing field, because so much can be misinterpreted through email and such. And so I feel like that human capacity and connecting with folks, when there's that high intensity conversation, having that face-to-face interaction. So that is number three. Also, along with number three, part of equalizing the playing field is your staff, in order to support a school culture that is human, needs to see that you're human, and you have to be able to admit your mistakes. We've had a few activities where we've tried to boost school culture, and I kid you not, I shouldn't say it like it's so shocking, because this certainly happens, but going out and saying, we tried this, it didn't work. I need some more ideas. I need some more solutions. How can you guys support us in this? So again, making sure, whether it's with students, whether it's with staff, but making sure that they see at the same time that you're human, you have feelings, and you have downfalls as well. So that brings us to number 4, practice disruptive visibility. And that's both directly and indirectly. So first, let's talk about indirectly. And I stand by this, and this is something that's really important. I feel like building leaders need to share with their staff. And notice as I'm talking about much of this, it's staff oriented, because I firmly believe that school culture starts with the adults in your building. And if you can get them in a place where they're supporting a positive school culture, then it trickles down to the students. But when we talk about that disruptive visibility, that means you're accessible indirectly 24/7, and you need to make that known. Oftentimes we hear building leaders say that you need to protect your time, you can't be accessible all the time. But to be honest with you, if your staff is going to feel valued, if they're going to feel that human element and know that you're always there to lean on, you need to give them your cell phone and say, text me up until this time. If it's an emergency, call me after. I always say, if it's after 9 o'clock, please call, because I won't hear the text message go off, because I will be asleep and I won't hear you. But having that indirect visibility where they know that you're there if something happens. Again, don't send me that 11 o'clock email. If you really need me, then call me and text me. I'm always available. And then also, disruptive visibility goes along with when you think about the school day. We have, as building leaders, have so much to do. There's no doubt about that. But whenever there's transitions, morning duty, lunch duty, passing period, whenever your customers or your clients are going to be out and about, you have got to be visible. That includes community events, that includes different facets of after school activities. But I say disruptive is because we would love to sit in our zone and sit in our office and get our work done so that we're not working crazy hours in the evenings and the weekends. But if you want to be good at what you do, then that has got to disrupt your daily routine, and you've got to make yourself visible to those in your building. And then that takes us to number 5 is constantly seek feedback, seeking solutions. So whether it be a quarterly, how are we doing? How can we support you? Whether, it's, feedback forms, whether it's having, I know one of the things that we've hosted in the past is cookies and conversation, where we invite the community in to share their thoughts about what's happening in the school and to seek more information, but constantly having those types of access for your staff members and for your community and for your students. And making sure that within there that you're being solution driven. So, I often have these conversations. People come into the office and I say, okay, I need to know one of two things. Am I here to listen, or am I here to listen and seek solutions? And oftentimes, and you'll have to pardon me, sometimes my light does this when there's inactivity. Well, you get to see me in the dark. There it goes. So anywho, it's be seeking feedback, but at the same time, people need to know and have that expectation in your building and in your school community that you need to seek solutions. And don't be afraid in an intense situation to say something to the effect of, I can tell you're angry. I can tell I'm not doing it the way that you think it should be done. What solutions do you have for me? And then last but not least, and this is something I hold near and dear to my heart because it can be touchy in certain situations, but you need to build a strong relationship with your union representatives, and you need to connect to them, especially when you have big rocks that are coming. So before you jump out and give it to the whole staff, you want to make sure that you're presenting that information to your union reps, so you get a feel, they feel vested in the situation, and they're able to provide feedback before you push it out into the entire building, and it's like a hornet's nest coming back at you. So that is Look and Listen. I'll see you here shortly for the next segment.
Hi, my name is Ross Braun, and I am the proud principal here at Monroe Central Elementary. We are located in beautiful Parker City in East Central Indiana. I'm the principal of a K through 6 elementary school, part of the Monroe Central School Corporation, and we have just shy of 600 students in our K through 6 building. So I want to thank Ryan for having me part of this group. Ryan and I were in Chicago this summer at the NASP conference, and had the idea of the principal whip around. And he said, "Hey, let's try this at ISP." And I'm just honored that he asked me and put me in the category of, "Hey, he can do this." And I would also like to thank the ISAP for having us and taking our um, pitch seriously and believing in us for this session. So, we're all talking about different things. Today, I want to talk about your teachers and your staff. Um, SEL, student support, student rapport, all of those are big topics, and rightfully so. But I feel like a lot of times our teachers are kind of put on the back burner. Like, they're adults, they'll be fine. They're teachers. And so when I became an administrator, number one was like, yeah, the students and relationships and rapport and all that, I've got that. That comes naturally. But one thing that I needed to work at, and the one thing that I wanted to make sure that our teachers felt, was supported and valued. And I came up with this slogan that I just kept saying over and over, and it's kind of became a staple in our building is, let's let professionals be professional. So many teachers in education don't feel that. It's tough. And we're seeing this in the number of teachers that are leaving our great profession every single year. The record number of teachers that leave education is growing. Look it up. In the last 3 years, that number has grown dramatically. Teachers don't feel valued and supported, whether it's from their administrators, from their school corporation, from the parents, their students, our society, all of those things. So for me, I was like, you know what? I want to make sure our teachers feel valued. So I'm not an expert. I'm not a rocket scientist when it comes to this stuff, but I do want to share some of the stuff that we do in our building to make sure that our teachers feel this way. So number one is I value their time. Teachers have lives outside of their education, outside of teaching, believe it or not. I had a dad tell me one time, Wednesdays, we always have these after school meetings before, and, every other Wednesday is when I go get my kids. And I would love it. I could go get my kids at 3:15 instead of 4:30 or 5 o'clock when the staff meeting's over. What? You know what? On Tuesdays, I'm a gymnastics dad. I leave early on Tuesdays every day. Take my 4-year-old to gymnastics. That's our thing. Everybody has a gymnastics day. When they have to go get their kids, whether they take care of their elderly, parent or grandparent. And I want to value that time. We have contracted time. You need to be here, but you also have lives outside of it. So I want to value that time, and I want you to know that you're a professional. I know that you'll take care of your business. Whether if you leave at 3:15, you might have to work at 8, 9 o'clock that night, but you're a professional, and I trust that you're going to. So how I've started doing this is I send out a weekly. All right, it's a s'more newsletter. I love s'more. Use it for parents. Use it for community communication, but I use it for our teachers as well. Every Sunday afternoon, I'm usually watching a football game or hanging out. I put together my the weekly newsletter, and it has everything that our teachers and staff need to know for the upcoming week. Every single detail that they may be wondering about. We also take a glimpse ahead at the week prior or the week ahead, maybe the month ahead if we have big events coming up. We do a staff shout out every week on there. So we shout out and highlight, a staff member that did something great the week before. I put a motivational piece in there. So maybe a motivational video, or maybe just a meme that says, hey, fall breaks next week, and, something funny, but just something to get us going into the week ahead. But all of the information that our teachers maybe would stay after school for a staff meeting, once a week, once a month, or every other week about, it's in that weekly. And the teachers and our staff know that all the information they need is in there. So yeah, the first year I would have some teachers come and say, I had no idea this was happening this week, Mr. Brown. Like, what? Come on, communicate. Well, actually, it's been in the weekly for the past 2 weeks. And they would say, oh, I'm so sorry. I should have read that closer. I didn't look at it last week. And guess what? They never come back for another question because they look at that weekly every week now. And I've been pretty open and honest with people. If you check the weekly, if you know what's going on, we're not going to have those after school meetings. I'm going to value your time with that. So value your teacher's time, whether it's here at school or after school during their personal time. Another way that we're letting professionals be professional. Love this. Our superintendent, school corporation, really bought into this year. Our teachers association was all for it as well, and our parent teacher conferences. So parent teacher conferences this year were a 3 week window, right before fall break, right at the end of the 9 weeks, where teachers had to, conference with every parent, group of parents, of each student in their class. This replaced 2 nights where teachers had to stay from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the evening for 2 nights in a row. They had to shuffle parents in as fast as they could, for 30, 15 to 30 minutes apiece. And at the end of it, that second night at 8 o'clock, we said, "Hey, go have a good fall break." And teachers would go into like a 2 day coma because they were so exhausted from these 2 nights. They had no idea what they talked about in that first conference, on Monday night. And parents really felt like they were rushed in and out, and the conferences weren't that value. So we said, "Hey, what? You're a professional. You can get these done in this 3 week window, and you're getting a free contracted day out of it because for your time that you're going to spend." And our teachers loved it. They had time to talk to the parents, have real conversations, good conversations. They were able to work around their schedule, going back to valuing their time. If Tuesday night was gymnastics night, they didn't schedule any conferences on Tuesday night. If they wanted to knock them all out into one night, they could. If they wanted to break it up over the course of the 3 weeks, whatever, because they're professionals and they can handle being professional like that. Another one, how about this? Professional dress. I know this is kind of a hot topic, but I'm all for it. I told teachers all the time, shirt and tie, high heels, and a dress don't make you a great teacher. I want you to dress in what makes you a rock star educator. Yeah, that might be a shirt and tie. That may be, your dress and heels, and that's great. I'm going to support that. But if it's not, that's okay. Don't show up in your pajamas. Be a professional, and our teachers love it. And they get the most out of it. So professional dress. Who cares if they're in a tie or not? Um, Another one, let their voice be heard. Too many times, teachers say, "Well, administrator just makes decisions and they don't even listen or ask what I want." You know what? I'm going to listen and let your voice be heard. At the end of the day, our teachers know that, yeah, I have the final say so in certain decisions, but I want to hear their side, their opinion, how they feel about this. I'm going to listen to their opinion and what they have to say, and I'm really going to take it into consideration. At the end of the day, I can't make every single one of our teachers here agree with it, with everything that we do, but if I listened to them and I valued their opinion, but still we couldn't go that direction for whatever reason, they respect that and they feel that they are trusted and they are valued. How about this one? Don't take it back. Don't be afraid to take it back to the 90s. What am I going to talk about here? Last year, I had a 32-year veteran teacher come to me and say, "Thank you." I was like, well, thank you for what? She said, "Thank you. I've never felt so valued in my 32 years of teaching." I was like, "All right, I'm going to retire now. Thank you. I'm out." But she said, "I feel like I'm teaching in the 90s again." And of course, that led to, conversation. But she said, "You have taken things off of our plates that didn't need to be on our plates. And I appreciate that." There's so many things that we can look at when you look in the mirror and say, "Why are we doing this? If it's not for a purpose, get out of here." Don't be afraid to take it back to the 90s and those simpler times. As I wrap things up, believe in your teachers. They are great. Ones that need support, give them support and know that they're doing great things in their classrooms. And if you're out in your classrooms enough, if you're visible in your building, if you have rapport with your students, if you have relationships with your parents and the community that you serve in, you'll know which teachers aren't being professionals. Trust me. You can have those conversations with professionals as a professional. So go out, continue to be great, continue to change lives like you do. Appreciate for everything that you do as administrators. And thank you again, ISAP, for having me.
Good afternoon. Hi, y'all. My name is Betsy McEachran. I'm coming to you live from my dining room, and I'm just coming off a 5 day break, and it was so glorious. Don't you guys love having breaks? It like puts you in such a better state. Anyways, I'm also coming to you as a new administrator. I am in my current position and I got there last March. So it's been kind of a whirlwind, but I feel very blessed and honored to be presenting in front of you. As you can see, the first slide discusses voice and choice, right? Every voice matters. And I think we know that. I think far too many times when we become an administrator, we forget all of those things that are so important to the functioning of our classrooms to put those also into play when we're running an entire building. So, as a new administrator, it was very important for me to understand where were we starting at, right? I had to seek first to understand where our stakeholders were at. I needed to know where our staff felt where we were at, our students, and certainly our families and our community members. From there, it was important for me to identify what was our top priorities. Where did our energy need to go, right? I think too many times we forget there is low hanging fruit, right, that we can pick off and seek good gains from quickly. So it was important, and it became very apparent very quickly that culture was something that was of importance in our building. Okay. And so it was also important for me to be very visible everywhere, not just in the classrooms or the cafeteria or the hallways, but certainly at sporting events and musical events and activities that the high school was hosting where our junior high students were going to be present. I had to create opportunities to have dialogue, right, with all of our stakeholders to understand what was of importance to them. I think too often we forget if we don't build that capacity to understand where people are coming from, that's going to kind of cut us off at the knees in the sense that we will not build buy in, right? And we can have the best laid out plan possible, but if people don't feel a part of it, they will not follow, right? And so it's important that we gather the needed information so we know how we want to best lead people. From there, we decided it was very important to create some shared leadership opportunities. Again, we created action teams. We have some adult action teams. So, gaining feedback from them as to how do we want to best attack certain areas in our building. But more importantly, we also had to build in time for students. So we had to be intentional about how were students' voices going to be heard and how were those voices going to be translated into action into our building. Far too often, we don't ask kids what they think or what's important to them. And I feel like at this level, at the junior high level, it's even more important that we know where they're coming from and where they want to go and how they want to get there, right? Because at this point, they can be far more difficult to get on board. And so you have to be intentional and not just plucking kids that are always in other leadership roles or are captains of your sports teams or are your top musicians, but looking for kids that you can see leadership qualities in and tapping them on the shoulder and saying, we need you. Your voice matters. And we want you to be a part of forward movement at our school. Another area we provided voice and choice is Choice PD. And mostly I've been doing this with new staff members. I'm sure, like some of your buildings, we had about 7 new staff members. And so instead of just, cramming all kinds of information like we normally do, like we have to inundate them with so much information, we've also given them the opportunity to choose what do you want to become really good at, right? I think far too many times we just pile it on, pile it on, pile it on, and people are just trying to check things off their list, right? I got that completed, I got that completed. But saying to them, what matters to you, right? Here's some options. Choose what you think is most important, and then becoming really good at that. Then the next year, you can choose something different that you want to become really good at. And so, again, giving them the choice to choose what do they think is going to make the most impact in their classroom. Class meetings is next to that. So taking a lot of data, it could be behavior data, it could be academic data, and then creating class PDs, class meetings around that. We offer multiple times we meet either as a building level, a convo style, or we might meet as a seventh grade, and then the next week we meet as an eighth grade, and we create conversations wrapped around what do they need, right? What is our data telling us that they need? What are they interested in? What are they concerned about? And then we create another platform for them to have voice in that conversation, right? So it's another opportunity for them to hear what's important here at school. Why is it relevant to you, right? And what do we need from you to help make this be successful in our building? Lastly, a couple things that are listed at the bottom of this slide are ways that we're incentivizing regular behavior. We lots of times, and I'll speak later on about PBIS, positive behavior intervention systems, but we forget that we need to do that with our teachers too, right? And so we have a staff meeting every 2 weeks. They get a new jeans coupon from me every 2 weeks. Every Friday is a free jeans day, and every Wednesday is a dollar jeans day, right? So if it's a big enough priority to them, I would rather them just spend the dollar. I also, like I said, give them the jeans coupon because I know there's going to be mornings when people wake up and they just can't do it. They don't want to come, right? But sometimes little things, if they can put on a pair of jeans and not have to put on those black dress pants again, it might motivate them and incentivize them enough to show up to work and not put in for a will sub. So that's something very easy, low hanging fruit that I can give them. Sweet treats we will offer sometimes. I will provide like a kind of like a menu of items, right, of drink options and snack options. They're not big, right? It might be an individual bag of Doritos, it might be a Snickers bar, it might be a Coke, it might be a water with like a lemonade packet. But again, they get choice, and then we deliver it to them as a way to say, we notice you, we know you're working hard, and we want you to feel like you are valued and appreciated in our building. The third item is extra prep period. So I had put everybody's, well, I should say all of our certified staff members' names on a ticket, right? On just a little baby ticket, put it in a jar. And every staff meeting, I choose 2 to 3 names. And then what that offers is an extra prep period for them. So I come in and I teach a class. They get to choose which period and typically which day. I ask for a couple options just so I can try to squeeze it into my schedule. But I want them to know, if you want me to come in and see some of your hardest kids, then I want to. Like, bring it on. I love that. It gives them an opportunity for a break. It gives them an opportunity. They feel like I have seen what they're living through, right? It puts me in front of kids. They get to see me in a different light. And actually, I love it. I love being in front of kids because I miss it so much. And so it's a win-win for everybody. So again, I hope you can take away a couple ideas that might help build culture, help flip things around in your building. And I'll be back in a little bit to talk more about systems.
Hey, everybody. One great thing to build on and improve the climate at your school is to recognize kids. There are so many ways we can recognize kids, and I'm sure you're doing several right now. Here's a couple ideas that we do that families love and the community loves. I'm standing in front of our wall of fame, which you can also see in the picture here. Over the years, kids get to write their name on the wall of fame. It's a chalkboard wall, so we could erase it at any time, but I just cannot erase all of these names on here. So we just keep finding space to pack it full. It's in our office. So when you walk into the office, the very first thing you see in our school is this wall of fame, which shows ownership of all the kids that go here and have gone here. They've written their names for several reasons, which I'll get into in just a second, but it is a great piece and focal point at our building. As you can see in one of these photos, our SRO even helps kids write their name on the wall of fame, which is another great way to build community because it's a positive force that's happening in our schools. On the right-hand picture, this little guy is ringing the cowbell, which is a sign that he has been recognized as doing something positive at our school. It's so great, and so fun because as soon as he does it, everything stops within earshot and people start talking to each other about, I wonder who's ringing the bell today. They must have done something great. And then when they see him, they ask him all kinds of questions. He gets really shy and nervous, but he gets excited to share what he's done. So a couple things that you can get your name on the Wall of Fame for. Our first is Good News Call of the Day. Teachers and staff members can nominate a student for a Good News Call of the Day. This was stolen from Principal Mark French in Minnesota, who is now retired. But what a great way to recognize kids for doing something great. How often are we calling home for not great things? At our school, we call home all the time to share good news that's going on with the students in our school. When a kid gets a good news call of the day, they get a white bracelet that says good news call of the day. They get their photo taken with me, the principal. We post it in the hallway for everybody to see. They get to pick a prize. We make a phone call home. They talk to their parent about why did they get a good news call of the day? What great choices were they making? What great thing did they did? It can be all kinds of stuff. It can be they were helping clean up in the cafeteria after lunch. They were helping a friend that got hurt. They've been working really hard in class. They've been making great growth. One day I walked into the bathroom and there's water all over the floor and there's a kid on his hands and knees cleaning up the mess that other kids made. I mean, you can get a good news call of the day for all kinds of things. And our staff does a great job of nominating kids. You also write your name on the Wall of Fame if you get a good news call of the day. Our other thing that you can write your name on the Wall of Fame for is a positive office referral. So we started Good News Call of the Day, and then we decided we wanted kind of another tier. So our Good News Call of the Day is the top tier, like the best recognition you can get for doing something great. Our positive office referral is just one tier under that. So any staff member, again, can fill out a positive office referral. We fill them out on these green sheets of paper, so it's really easy to see. And it's pretty simple and pretty quick for staff members to fill out. They answer a couple questions about the child, and then they just give a few sentences about why are they nominating that child for a positive office referral. When they turn the paper in, I go get the child out of class or wherever they are in the school as soon as I can, bring them down to the office for about 5 minutes. We talk about how school's going, the great things that are written about them on this paper. They get to pick a prize. They get to write their name on the Wall of Fame. And then at some point in the next week, their picture is taken and it goes into our school newsletter that goes home to all of our families. Positive office referrals are a great thing to add to our school. And we've been doing it for about 3.5 years now. And teachers and staff members have really dedicated some time to looking for these positive things that are going on in our school, which is fantastic. Just this year, I've been inundated with these green positive office referrals. As you can see, one day on my desk, they're stacked in this photo. It's amazing. It's so overwhelming for me, but how great is it that there's so many kids doing so many great things and we're recognizing it. In these two photos, a kid is super excited that he got a good news call of the day. He's showing off his bracelet, and the other one is just beaming because he's talking to his mom on the phone. So 2 things you can do with kids: positive office referrals, good news calls of the day, share out the amazing news and the great things kids are doing.
Hello again. I'm back with my next segment in this principal whip around, and that is respond and empower. So within these bullet points, I have 5 facets of school culture and school leadership to support your school climate. So the first one is up your professional game. And I am a firm believer that we all have to walk the walk and talk the talk, but how do you present yourself and what is that expectation that you display within your building that supports your staff rising to that expectation? So first and foremost, one of the philosophies that's been shared with me from leadership in the past is attitude reflects leadership. So professionally, whether it's the way that you conduct yourself with students, whether it's the way you conduct yourselves with your colleagues or with teachers or with people in the community, is that you have to set a certain example. So, how you dress, leading by hard work. And let me jump back to how you dress. And this is something that I've gotten in bouts of confrontation with other school leaders is I firmly believe that, should an angry parent come in or an angry teacher come in, the first thing they're going to see is how I presented myself. And that's going to set the professional tone for that interaction. So again, how I present myself, how I, physically represent the way that I dress, but also, how I run my staff meetings is, do I mirror what's expected in the classroom? So if I want a certain standard, I need to have the agenda ready to go. I need to have activities, if we're focusing on scaffolding or active engagement, and that's what I'm saying needs to happen in those classrooms, then I need to mirror that within faculty meetings. But along that same line, I need to make sure that I'm connecting with those that are in our school community and not making it where I'm up here leading, from the towers or from the balcony. I need to be in the trenches with those that I'm working with so that they can see that, we all are in this together. We're all working hard to meet the same goal. Number two, make difficult decisions and interject during confrontation. So, we have a lot of difficult decisions that we have to make. And a lot of times, I think that we make those decisions and we might push it off. That was central office made us do this, or so and so government entity is making us do this. And we need to make sure that we're making those difficult decisions and we're owning those difficult decisions. And along those same lines, when we're dealing with confrontation, we need to make sure that we're interjecting, whether it's a student being disrespectful to a teacher, whether it's a parent being disrespectful to a staff member. We need to make sure to jump in during those pieces of confrontation to show that we as the person of authority are going to support those that work so hard for us. And this is something that we bring up routinely in our class meetings with students is, we have a certain behavior standard. And if you treat X, and X or do X, Y, and Z, that it's not going to be tolerated. And here are the consequences. So being able to stand on those difficult decisions, to stand on those issues of confrontation and lead with authority. The next thing, number three, is immediacy and questioning equal winning. So, anytime that you're in a classroom, interacting, doing an observation, you always want to make sure to provide as immediate feedback as possible to those teachers. Because believe it or not, as soon as you leave, they're checking, what's my feedback, what's my score. And within that immediacy and that feedback is that you want to provide them questioning on things that you want to look to maybe for them to improve. So when you're providing that feedback, you want to redirect people towards what you can see as being their strengths, but you need to do so that you're formulating that into a question. So it's not so much, I went into your classroom, so and so wasn't engaged. Instead, formulating is how do you think you can pull in the students that were on the left hand side of the room that didn't seem to be on task with you is again re-engaging their strengths through questioning. So those of you that know discipline by questioning, it's kind of along that lines, but immediate feedback and finding a way to provide that feedback in a form of a question equals winning. Try it, they'll like it. Number four, include everyone on your team. And when I mean everyone, I'm saying, you're going to have those committees where you're looking to make big decisions. And you want to make sure that everyone's included, whether it's core subject areas, whether it's elective, whether it's your classified staff. Make sure that you have the key players that are included in that team. And that means in recognizing every team player. So it's not just about, teacher appreciation week. It's about staff appreciation week and making sure that, you're recognizing nurses day, bus driver day, those, what else? Lunch hero day is making sure everyone feels a part of that team, that there's not that hierarchy of professionalism within the building. Because again, that human aspect, we're all in this together. And also part of that is making sure you're holding, we do a great job of holding faculty meetings and PD meetings on a regular basis. We need to make sure we're doing the same for our classified staff so that they feel that they are a part of that team. And then last but not least, routinely evaluate elements of every aspect of your school culture that comprise the tone of your building. And what I mean by that is what is the tone of your building? Whenever there's a discipline issue, whenever there's some type of conflict, conflict, what do you bring it back to? And one of the things I like to teach those within our building to do is bring it back to academics. So you got in this argument, there's going to be some type of out of school consequence, but it's going to affect your grade. So what are you going to do to make sure that you're completing your assignments on time? So again, if you want what leads your building to be leadership, then you bring back those conversations always to leadership. If you want it to be academics, bring it back to academics. It might even be graduation, but you want to evaluate what's going to be that tone of your building and what's going to be that one place where you focus in on, so that everybody can always bring back areas of discussion back to that central idea. And then make sure that within that you're inspecting those things that you expect of your staff. So if you're going to hold your building to a certain academic tone, then you need to be in those classrooms. You need to be evaluating those mandates. If you have certain things that you've said that we will do instructionally this year, how often are you in those classrooms seeing whether or not that's happening and providing immediate feedback? All right, I think that's it. Bye.
Hi again, Ross Braun here, principal of Monroe Central Elementary. All right, I went over by like 3 or 4 minutes on my first session, so I want to try to keep this one a little bit shorter because Ryan told me I had 7 minutes for each one. So let's see if I can, I'm not great at math, let's see if I can even those out a little bit. I'm going to stay on the same topic of teacher support and staff culture, building culture, and I'm going to talk about the answer is yes. Give your teachers the green light. So many times teachers do not feel, supported by their staff, like we talked about by their administrators, like we talked about in the last session. And they just feel like they're in this box, that they have to have this cookie cutter approach to their teaching style and go do it. Make sure your test scores are great. And I'll see you twice a year for your observations and we're out the door. What does that foster within your students, I ask? If you give your teachers the green light, give them the answer is yes, then that models to your students what we want to see out of them. So here at MCE, with the teachers and staff in our building, I encourage everyone to take chances. I've had teachers come up to me in my office door, stop me in the hallway and say, "Hey, I got a crazy idea I want to run by you." I'm like, "Let's hear it." And after the first couple of times, after, that became kind of the norm, teachers don't feel like, "Hey, I have a crazy idea." They come to me and say, "Hey, there's something I'd like to try. Let's talk about it." And because they know that I'm going to support them. Some stuff, obviously, financially we can't do. Even then, though, I say, let's find a way to do it. But I encourage everybody to take chances. And when they fail, if they fail, pick them up. Be there beside them. Go into the classroom during that lesson that, they had this crazy idea with and watch it and let them know that, hey, I supported you when I said yes to this. I supported you when I helped you fund it or create it. And I'm going to support you if it fails, or I'm definitely going to support you when it succeeds. So don't be afraid to jump in with them. And there's been times where, I've jumped in and I said, "Hey, I've got this like crazy idea again." The teacher's like, "You know what? It's not crazy. You want to come into my classroom and do something with the kids?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And now they're the ones telling me yes. So don't be afraid to jump in with them, because when you do this, it fosters leadership within your school. And instead of having teachers that don't feel valued or supported, you have teachers that feel the opposite way, and they want to, jump over fences for you, for your school. We have a saying here that we're doing this for the brand, for the MC brand, and teachers are really all in. So, like I said, don't be afraid to model this. Jumped into classes. I model this during our PD days, our professional development days. I try to model this in lessons or, things that we do as a staff in those days. And this really builds an innovative culture. Education is growing, and it's constantly changing. If we haven't learned anything in these past 3 years, then we need to make sure we know that education is not the same today as it was in 2019 or 2018. It's changing and we need to change with it. So let's do that by providing our teachers with a culture of yes. So don't be afraid. Go out and give them the green light. Going back, trust your teachers that they're professionals and they're doing the right thing. If they're not, well, let's have some real conversations and support your teachers in their profession and know that you believe in them and you believe that they're making the difference. So thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Go out, be rock stars yourself. Thank you again for everything you do for our students, for the great state of Indiana. And as we always say here, go Bears.
Hi, everyone. I'm back. I'm Betsy. Obviously, I didn't embed the camera into the last slide, so my apologies for that, but here I am. And I'm coming back to speak with you a little bit about systems and how they support culture and also support you as the building leader. So the first thing I want to talk about is that we are formatted in teams. And so we have 3 7th grade teams and 3 8th grade teams. We do this because our students come to us from a 5th and 6th grade building, and they are with 2 teachers, and they're basically monitored everywhere they go in the building. And then they come to us and we say, hey, we need you to travel to 7 different classes. We have a homeroom and we have a lunch, and now good luck. And we hope that you can manage yourself. And typically we're surprised that they can't, right? And so when we set up a team structure, which means that students will have the same math, social studies, science, and language arts teachers, okay? And those teachers will be geographically closely located within the building. This allows for them to be part of a much smaller family that's within this much bigger extended family, right? This emphasizes relationship building because these teachers know these kids. They know them across curriculums, right? They see them often, they interact with them often. And it's an opportunity for students to feel a sense of belonging, right? Each team kind of has their own flavor. As you can see, a picture that's posted here. This was a color splash convocation that we did. And so during Red Ribbon Week, the last day, we had basically, it was kind of like a color war. And so you can see yellow really went all out, blue, purple. We had 3 other teams that 2 kind of showed their school spirit, and kids got really excited about it, right? Now, we are structured in colors, right? That's how our teams are identified. However, going back to choice and voice, which I spoke about earlier, that's not to say that students and staff couldn't decide what their team name should be. Again, giving them more buy-in, more relevance to why they're choosing what they're choosing, right? But we feel that this team structure provides scaffolded support for kids when they're coming to us, transitioning from the building before us. Another thing that we try to do, or another system, is PBIS-ish, right? We use a common language at specific parts of our building. We explicitly teach it. We review it often. We use that verbiage often as well. I do in announcements. Teachers do throughout their class period. And again, we want to incentivize targeted behavior, right? Instead of waiting for things to happen, we want to tell kids, proactively, this is what we want to see. We're going to practice it. We're going to talk about it. You're going to identify behaviors that would coincide with things, with targeted or focused behaviors that we're looking for. So again, building buy-in. We also have an opportunity for students to be in their homeroom, and that is with a member of their identified team. So if I'm a yellow team member student, my homeroom teacher will be a yellow team teacher. So the chances that I have that teacher somewhere else in my day are high, right? And so that again creates an opportunity. We have our social emotional learning that occurs in there. Leader in Me is something that we have recently adopted, as well as our college and career readiness lessons are also embedded into there as well. Again, another opportunity for consistent relationship building with the same teacher, with the same group of students, solidifying and deepening those relationships that happen when we're with people all the time, right? And so, again, another opportunity for choice and voice for kids to decide what matters to them. How do they want to exhibit that within the building, okay? But again, common language. Coming into a new building, it seemed that there wasn't a lot of MTSS in place, so multi-tier systems of support. So we quickly put together a behavior intervention team that is comprised of all three administrators, a principal, an assistant, and a dean of students. It's comprised of our two counselors, and it's also comprised of our school psych. Now, down the road, that's not to say that we couldn't have a couple teachers that would be part of that conversation. But what we do is we are tracking behavior data. So that we can identify students early and be proactive about it, as opposed to waiting, right, for the behavior to become, so outrageous that now we've got to really tackle something that's kind of out of hand. Also, the MTSS providing systems with how are we identifying students that need interventions, and then tracking those interventions through regular progress monitoring. So again, getting something like that in place is huge for your culture. Lastly, systems with families. So a consistent communication with families. So every Sunday night, I share out a family newsletter through text and through email, as well as I post it on all of our social media sites. So it gives them kind of a week at a glance, what's coming up, what do they need to be kind of keeping on their radar, as well as I try very hard to make regular calls home and not just negative calls, right? When I know a student has had consistent, perhaps problematic behavior, when they do something right, I want that family to know, right? I want them to have an opportunity and a reason to celebrate that kid, right? And so again, reaching out and being intentional about creating positive relationships with our families also creates systems of trust, right? And again, for them to buy in to what we are trying to promote and move forward in our building. So I hope that this little snippet of systems conversation, you probably have most of these things in place, but if not, maybe try one. Have a good night.
It's always a great idea to have as much fun at school as possible. So here are 2 things you can do to bring the fun, get staff excited, and really brighten people's days. Our first idea is 9 at 9. Just like on the radio, we say we're going to pick the 9th caller to win a prize. We give a trivia question, can be easy, can be hard. Sometimes it's about our school, sometimes it's not. And we announce it on the intercom, and then we look for the 9th caller and we award a prize to that teacher and sometimes the class. All kinds of different prizes are available, but check out this video because it's a great way to start your day.
Their answer is correct is going to win a prize. So teachers, get by your phone. All staff members, get by your phone. If you can answer this question, call 3701. Not yet. And the 9th caller will win. What were Frosty the Snowman's eyes made out of? Call 3701. Have a great day.
That's your first call. This is
Hi, thanks for calling. You're the first caller. Try again next time. Hi, thanks for calling. You're the second caller. Try again next time. Hi, thanks for calling. You're the third caller. Try again next time. Hi, thanks for calling. You're the fourth caller. Try again next time. Hi, you're the fifth caller. Try again next time. Hi, thanks for calling. You're the sixth caller. Try again next time. Hi, you're the seventh caller. Try again next time. Hi, you're the eighth caller. Try again next time. So close. Hi, congratulations. You're the 9th caller. Who is this? Hi, Mrs. Klepsch. What were Frosty's eyes made out of? Coal. Awesome job, Mrs. Klepsch. We will deliver your prize in just a couple minutes. Thanks for playing.
As you can hear, the phones are ringing off the hook. If you're in the hallways, you can hear the kids going crazy. Teachers are excited. It is such a motivator and a great way to start your day or end your day. Everybody gets super excited about it, even if they don't end up being the 9th caller. Our next idea is the Woot Woot Wagon. You may have seen variations of this before. Essentially, we fill a cart with drinks and snacks and we parade through the halls, blowing whistles, playing music, being loud and obnoxious. Our kids know that when they hear that, that means snacks are coming for the staff members. They're super bummed about it, but they love seeing their teachers and staff members so excited. This is a great hit at school, and we do it about once a month to motivate people and help remind them that we so greatly appreciate them. Check out this video.
Celebrating you! Have a snack! I get a snack! Drinking a snack!
As you can see and probably tell, this video was one of the first times we did the Woot Woot Wagon. So that first teacher, she's like, what is going on? And then once she heard what was going on, she was super excited. And if you notice in the background, doors just kept opening and staff members just kept coming out because they're like, what's going on? And then once they see it's for them, they're all in. So one of the things that we do for prizes at school is we have things donated from local businesses and families. Recently, we borrowed an idea and we asked our families to donate one $10 gift card. So we use these gift cards and we let the families know we're going to use these gift cards to recognize teachers and recognize staff members throughout the school year. So just a nice little way to give a little something to the teachers and staff members. So that's one of the prizes we use for our 9 at 9. Sometimes at our monthly jamborees. That's our assembly. We give prizes to teachers, and those gift cards are prizes there. But like I said, we also have other things that are donated from community businesses and families. So just 2 ways right here to motivate your staff and help get them excited about school and remind them that they are so greatly appreciated.